because I had been doing covers for so long, it kind of turned into my identity. As much as I love doing the covers and I love singing, I've always wanted to be my own artist. I've always wanted to express myself. So going from the covers to now doing my own original music, it felt natural and it felt right.
What's up, y'all? I'm Kelly Clarkson.
Hey, it's Steve McRae.
Hey, I'm Josh from the band Need to Breathe.
I'm Olivia Lunny.
We are so excited to welcome to the Kelly Alexander Show, Akon. Hi.
What up, Kels?
Hey, I'm Judy Gold.
And I'm hanging out with the Kelly Alexander Show.
This is Jordan, and I'm hanging out on the Kelly Alexander Show.
I'm Rob, and I'm hanging out on the Kelly Alexander Show.
I'm hanging out with the Kelly Alexander Show right now.
Jealous?
We are super excited to welcome to the Kelly Alexander Show an amazing Canadian artist who is on the rise when it comes to the world of R&B and pop and Afro beats. Her name is Chrissy Spratt. She's got a debut EP on the way later on this year, and we're very excited to talk to her about her latest single, In Too Deep. Chrissy, welcome to the Kelly Alexander Show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Super excited to have you. We have a lot to discuss, including, because I always like to start at the beginning, how did music become your path in life?
I honestly feel like music chose me. It was just one of those things that ever since I was a little girl, music was just in me. I always wanted to sing, and like this passion it was just like a fire in me. So pursued it, and here we are today.
Amazing. Now, when you were growing up, like, were your parents super into music, and did their music kind of inspire some of the artists that you ended up listening to and even like loving to this day?
You know, it's funny you say that because my parents were lovers of music, but my dad was part of a band. And so he was very into rock music and the Beatles and that era. And then my mom was a piano player and she was into choirs and stuff like that. So my love for R&B, it didn't come from them. That just came from like my cultural exposures and just like listening to music and finding like what I connected with. But as far as like loving music in general, definitely my parents played like a huge role in that. Yeah.
And, they always say that kind of the age 13 to 16 is where you fall in love with like either certain songs or certain genres of songs and maybe even certain artists. Like for me, that's Janet Jackson. All my audience knows that. But like for you, who would be that artist or those artists that are still with you today?
I had a huge obsession with Destiny's Child, with Brandy, with Maya, Toni Braxton. Like those were, I guess, yeah, like female R&B singers in that era. I was just obsessed with their music. Yeah.
Amazing. Now, would you say that those artists, like, do they still influence the kind of sounds that you're producing, or are you producing completely different things?
So I would say that there's always this element from my love of that era of music that sort of, whether it's like in the melodies or the way I sing or like the flow that I have, I think that's where they've influenced me to this day. But as far as like production and stuff like that, no, it's a different sound, definitely.
Now, do you play an instrument?
I know how to play the piano.
Okay.
I wouldn't say I'm like very, very good at it, but my mom put me in piano lessons when I was a kid. And yeah, so I know how to dabble in the piano.
Amazing. Now, talk to us about the decision on your end to start, posting yourself singing covers. I'll just use examples. Like I watched your video of Charlie Puth, Attention, and then I know you did Drake One Dance, and I know the list is long. So
Yeah.
how did you decide to do that, and how quickly did things blow up for you on social media?
So I just wanted to do it for fun in the beginning. And I think that's sort of where everybody starts. It's just a passion and you love doing it. So I was just singing covers because I love to sing. And when I first started off, I wasn't really thinking about the way it looked and, technology and the camera equipment and all that sort of stuff. I was just posting whatever, in whatever setting, just because I wanted to sing. And then I started to get a little bit more into it. And that's when I started to like invest in like a camera and I learned a bit about lighting. And as I was posting to YouTube, I was just getting a little bit more like comfortable with the idea of, like what this is and like what the internet is and posting these things online. And there was a lot of like interaction as well. So for the first time, you could communicate with, the people that are watching your videos and getting a sense of what they wanted because they could leave comments. So I was doing the videos first on YouTube, which then trickled into TikTok once I opened up like my TikTok account. And on TikTok is where the real hardcore like engagement started to happen. And I wanted to like as much as I was doing it for myself, I was also, putting these videos out for anybody who wanted to listen. So I made sure that I would go through these comments and sometimes there'd be like a request and I'd be like, "Oh yeah, like that's a cool song. Let me try it." And that's sort of where it all started and how I started to build my social media pages.
Amazing. And like, do you find that I know you mentioned TikTok is very engagement heavy and all that kind of stuff. Do you ever find yourself, or have you found yourself and you've had to pull yourself back where you start worrying too much about what online people want as opposed to what Chrissy wants to do?
Yeah, you always have to like keep that in mind and find a balance to make sure that you're still finding pleasure in what you're doing and not burning out because it has happened. I have had moments where I've burned out and I've had to take a step back. But yeah, and at the end of the day, it's supposed to be fun. You also once like you do have to be mindful when you get to a certain point where there are a lot of eyes on you. Like you do have to be mindful about, the stuff that you post. But at the end of the day, it's always been fun for me and I want to keep it that way.
I actually did want to ask you, I'm glad you kind of brought it up now because I was going to ask this as one of the later questions, but now I'm going to ask it, which is the fact that you have such a significant following now on both platforms, and I'm sure on even on your YouTube channel, you've got, a gajillion people following you. Is there like power in that for you? There must be because now like in a way you don't need a record label. You don't need, you know what I mean? Like you have your own avenue to reach directly to fans who I'm sure will multiply as they've already been doing. So like what's your mindset going forward as a recording artist in the fact that you have this power already?
Yeah, times have definitely shifted from even just, 5 years ago to now with the power of social media, and it's allowed artists to be independent. And so now that I have this huge following, it's amazing to me because, maybe 5 years ago, I would have been like, oh, like the goal is to be signed with like a massive label, but now not so much. I don't feel like I need that and that's the only way. I feel like there's different avenues now to become successful and I'm just sticking on this path and just seeing where it takes me, to be honest. Yeah.
That's awesome. And do you like I know we were talking moments ago about like getting burned out and posting and all that. Do you have like now because you are so successful and again it keeps growing, do you kind of have a rule of thumb for Chrissy Spratt about like I'm only posting 3 times a week or I need to post 97 times a week, like with whatever?
So so when I was first growing my page, I was posting all the time. All the time. I didn't want to let the moment pass. So I was posting a lot and it got to a point where I was able to slow down a little bit and I wanted to make sure that I was giving quality over quantity. So in the beginning, it was a little bit easier for me to post quantity because I already had so much content from YouTube that I had done, and everything on YouTube was long form. So I was able to take these and chop them up into smaller bits and do short form content with these clips on TikTok. So there were days where I was posting like 3 times a day for weeks, and that's how it grew so quickly. And I think that's also how TikTok understood what my channel was about and pushed it out to people who wanted to see that type of content because I was just I stuck to my niche. And then once it started to get to a point where I was getting like requests and things like that, I was being a little bit more mindful about the stuff I was putting out. So it I would say it came down to twice a week around that point where I was making sure that yeah, I wasn't going ham on TikTok. It was more like twice a week. And then I would take that content as well to post it on Instagram. So yeah, I believe in the beginning when you're trying to grow a page, you do need to be pretty consistent and post quite often, but also like not be all over the place. If you love to, cook, you should just be posting cooking videos. If your channel is about your dog, post your dog, but don't be like all over the place in the beginning.
Now, because again, you've got so many people following you on all these different platforms, like, do you actually have a social media manager now, or is it still you doing most of it?
Still me.
Good for
It's
you.
still me. Yeah. I
That's
kind I kind of take pride in that, to be honest. Like I don't know. I feel like my all my social media platforms, like they're my baby. Like I grew them by myself, and I like, yeah, I nurture them. I don't want
I,
somebody else
I
controlling that.
I'm sending you a high five from Montreal. That's like That's amazing. Good for you. Now, let us talk. First of all, I want to remind everybody that we're speaking to Chrissy Pratt, recording artist from Ottawa, Canada. On the march to big things. She's already gotten big things going on. Make sure you visit her YouTube channel at Chrissy Spratt Music, and then follow her on social media at Chrissy Spratt, and then at Chrissy on air on TikTok. Let's talk about the decision to go from doing covers to recording your own music. So, like, you already said at the beginning that you were writing songs as a child, so I'm sure this wasn't a big leap for you to get going with your own stuff. But was it daunting because you're not doing covers?
I think that because I had been doing covers for so long, it kind of turned into my identity. And as much as I love doing the covers and I love singing, I've always wanted to be my own artist. I've always wanted to express myself, and I thought it was the right time to bridge that gap. So going from the covers to now doing my own original music, it felt natural and it felt right. So I'm really excited about the original music. It's been a long time coming. So I definitely could not have gotten to this point right now without, all the history of the cover songs. So I am grateful for that era. But yeah, it's Chrissy Spratt's time right now.
Now, you also mentioned, you've been quite open about being from Ottawa, Canada, still being in Ottawa, which I think is fantastic because so many people make the choice to go to Toronto or go to Nashville or go to Los Angeles or New York. Um, First of all, first question, why decide to stay in Ottawa? Because you could be going other places. And I'll answer that first and then I'll go and then I'll keep going.
Okay. Don't get me wrong, I thought about moving many, many, many times, but at the same time, everything I was doing was on the internet. So for me to, get up and leave to start over somewhere else when I have a good support system here in Ottawa, it just didn't make sense for me at the time. There's obviously going to come a point where I will need to move for my career, but for the time being, I was able to do all of this literally just from, my living room, honestly. And I mean, like if I can do it from Ottawa, I think a lot of people can do it as well from wherever they are in the world.
Well, I think it's amazing because there's a select bunch of artists now that do this, and you're another one because like I even classified like our hip hop star from Nova Scotia, like he made the decision to stay out there and he is doing his thing and it's working. I talked to you before about Jamie Fine who's doing amazing things. She's decided to stay in Ottawa. Um, and then there's just other, even like if we look at Americans, like Missy Elliott still stays on the East Coast. Like she never, as far as I know, like moved to Los Angeles. Like she wants to stay in her hometown. So I think there's something about keeping that support system that you talked about. With that idea though, how did you go about choosing producers and did you have to go record in other places or did you do stuff at distance?
I traveled a lot. I'm not gonna lie. I traveled basically all of last year. I was, put in different studio sessions and, Miami, LA, Toronto. I was traveling a lot to do this sort of stuff. And I mean, I get it. Ottawa is a small city and it's not really like, we don't have a massive entertainment industry here. So I was okay with traveling and I love it. I get to experience different places and meet new people. So I didn't mind the traveling at all. But yeah, I definitely had to do some traveling.
And how did you go about choosing producers? Like who helped you or did you DM somebody? Like how did this go?
So let me back up for a second. After I had exploded on social media, I was getting a lot of DMs and people reaching out to me and wanting to work and stuff like that. But in the process of all of this, I actually met my current management team, Highway 89, and they again like they came across my stuff and they just wanted to know like what's your story, like what's going on? Are you working with anybody? Is there any way that, we could help each other out, collaborate in some capacity? And I'm just like, I'm just out here doing my thing. Like I'm just, I'm soloing it right now. And we just vibed, we clicked, and we ended up we started working together, and they have great relationships with a bunch of different producers from all around the world. So a lot of my connections with these producers actually came from my management team, which I'm so thankful for. So they put me in some good studio sessions with some amazing people.
Awesome. And how would you, because I've read a bunch of things on you and like it seems like everybody describes you differently. So,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
which is fine. I mean, they're not saying that you're a thrash metal artist or anything like that, but how would you describe the Chrissy Spratt sound and do you think you're still finding it?
I think every day I'm developing it, but there's always going to be this core sound that I have that's just natural to me, which is R&B. Like if I were to categorize myself, I would say I am an R&B artist, like 100%. Doesn't mean that I'm not, crossing over and dabbling and mixing other genres with it, but yeah, R&B is always going to be my baby.
Awesome. Is there an R&B producer that, or producers, like plural, that you grew up listening to? Let's say like a Dark Child that had worked with
Oh,
Destiny's Child, or like a Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis who have worked with everybody. Like, is there somebody on your wish list still that you just would hope this would happen?
yeah. Yeah, it's funny you say Dark Child because that was literally the first producer that came to mind. I noticed like every single song that I would listen to, like, from that era was produced by Dark Child, and I was like, oh, like wouldn't it be so cool to work with him? So yeah, definitely Dark Child and Scott Storch as well. I thought he was very, very talented. Would love to get in a room with him. That would be just crazy. And Timbaland as well. Yeah, those are my top three. Yeah, definitely.
I think you should just reach out because you could DM anybody right now and I'm sure they'd listen.
Not a bad idea, actually.
Well, it's crazy to me how I find that just even people I think that will know each other behind the scenes end up kind of DMing each other. Like, it's interesting. So yeah, I think you should just do that. Now let's talk a little bit about the song In Too Deep. Was it nerve-wracking for you? Did the song come together easily? Like, what do you want people to know about this track?
Well, so I was in a session in Miami with a very, very talented producer called Daramola. And I was very nervous going into this session because you never know what to expect when you go into a new session with somebody new. Everybody works differently. Everybody has like a different vibe. So when I got into this session, I felt so comfortable. Daramola was just such like an easygoing person, and like there was no rush. There was no rush. We weren't on a clock. It wasn't like, okay, like we have like 4 hours, we gotta like bang out a song. It wasn't like that. So we actually spent a lot of time just talking, getting to know each other, ordered some food. There was a basketball court in the back of the studio, which was great. I mean, Miami, of course. So, we're just like playing basketball and like we're just chit-chatting. And we got to a point where we're like, let's go in the studio. And then we just started to create. He started by just playing like two instruments that were on a loop. And we were just like, what do we want to talk about? Like what is it, like who, like he wanted to get to know me and like what my story is. And I'm just like, I just wanted to, I love love. I love talking about love and relationships. And, like I hear crazy stories from my friends all the time about their situationships and, things they're going through. And I kind of just like wanted to tap into the perspective of what it would be like as a girl, just like making bad decisions. Like you're just making bad decisions, and the next thing you know, like you're just in too deep into a situation. And we kind of just started with that and started flowing, and we were just bouncing these ideas off of each other, and it kind of like flowed and just came out very quickly, to be honest. Like we didn't really have to think about it. It just sort of wrote itself, I guess. And yeah, that's how In Too Deep came about.
That's awesome. It's such a great song. It's so laid back and the video is super fun. And I know you incorporated dancing, which you don't normally do.
Yeah.
So what was that like just working with, a choreographer and also I would say too, in watching the video, like it's you. You don't have 97 dancers with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. So like the goal of that video was I still wanted it to be simple. I didn't want it to be crazy. I wanted the focus to be on the song itself, but I wanted also like a fun visual. And I thought to myself, I don't really dance. Nobody has ever really seen me dance. And those were comments that I would get a lot of the time in my like under the videos that I would do for my covers because I was always just like standing there very poised like with a mic and everybody's like, "Girl, you got to dance. Like this song is so hype. You have to dance. You have to dance." And I'm like, "You know what? I just want to like surprise everybody, challenge myself as well and do a little bit of dancing in this video." So, I'm like, "Okay, I need a choreographer. So where do I start?" So I actually started by looking just on Instagram. I was looking at dancers from Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal, and I was just going down this rabbit hole. And I somehow ended up on Justice Moore's page. And turns out that she's from New York and she does Broadway. So she's part of Sunset Boulevard. And I just DM'd her. I was like, "Hey girl, I'm looking for somebody who could choreograph a dance routine, and I don't really dance, so I need some help." And she got back to me, and she's like, "Yeah, absolutely." She's like, "Come to New York, and we'll work on something together." So I said, "Oh, okay, okay, I could do that." And then I'm like, "Do you?" So now I'm thinking, okay, well, we're going to be in New York. I should probably reach out to a videographer from New York, and this will all make sense. Turns out she has a very close friend who's a videographer. And so the three of us got into a group chat and we just planned it out. And next thing you know, I was on a flight to New York. I had a couple sessions with her learning how to dance. And then by day 4, we were filming this video.
Amazing. That's awesome. And what was it like for you to watch the video after it was done? Like, are you able to watch yourself and appreciate?
Yeah, for sure. Like obviously, like I'm so nervous doing like while I'm doing it because I want to make sure that, you know, it's being captured the way I envision it. So what was cool though, like in this set was we had a big monitor. So after we would be done like filming something, I could like run over to this monitor and like watch the playback. And so I could see I'm like, "Oh, okay, like I like this. I like how I look. I like how Pierre captured everything." So yeah, I was kind of like put at ease like during the whole thing.
Back to the song itself, In Too Deep, is it indicative of what the um or indicative, I should say, of what the EP is to come? Like, is it very like, is it, or are you coming at us with a bunch of different vibes on this EP?
So it is going to have that same kind of vibe throughout most of the EP. Um, it's going to be sort of this like mix of most of the songs are a mix of R&B with Afrobeat, and then there's actually like a little bit of I want to say house, a little bit of house mixed in there as well. So it's a good variety, but still like on theme and on brand to who I am as an artist.
Fantastic. Now, just a couple more questions. I know that you are like you're tracking well with people over in Africa.
Yeah.
So, what is that? And you know what's crazy is like I had been joking with you about Jamie Fine before we started the interview, knowing that she's from Ottawa and like she's a buddy of mine, and I think she's amazing, and she has a bunch of fans over in Africa, which I think is fantastic. And you have that over there. What is it about you? You think obviously the Afrobeat angle to it, but like is there this extra pressure because you have such amazing fans, coming at you from over there across the ocean?
It's not pressure, but it's more like I want to go meet them. Like I want to go to Africa and do a tour out there and meet them because like there's just so much love and support from them. Like that's I think like that's where I feel maybe like the most pressure in a sense, but um it's just so crazy to me how you can just becomes so popular in a specific region of the world. So yeah, that's yeah, those are my like that's my little family out there.
That's awesome. Now, I wanted to ask you too, uh, do you feel, again, because you have recognition now on a world stage, being a Canadian artist, and you know, in R, like there is obviously R&B in Canada. I think the scene isn't where, you know, I as a R&B fan would like it to be, but it's definitely growing and all that. Do you feel there's a responsibility on your part to try to keep growing the genre and let the world know that yeah, R&B can come from Canada?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always been a thing for me. Like I'm not going to change the music that I do in order to fit into, you know, whatever's popular here. It's not about that. I'm just gonna keep doing me and keep doing the music I love. And when the music is undeniable and it's good, um, it will get its recognition. So I'm just gonna keep doing my R&B thing, and Canada's gonna love it.
Awesome. Now, I call this fast fact question, so you can just answer them as quickly as you want. Finish this sentence. What is the best thing about Canada?
The people.
What is always in your fridge?
Protein shakes.
Yeah, it's great. If you could switch places for one day with an artist or a producer, who would it be and why?
Oh my God. Beyonce, just to see how her the way she works.
Now, space travel has been in the news quite a bit over the last several months, with, you know, the ladies recently going up, Katy Perry and the group. If you were actually able to go up to space, who would be in your shuttle? Which five artists would be with Chrissy Spratt?
Drake, Beyonce, Rihanna, Tony Braxton. Mm, I would say Michael Jackson if he was still around. Um, fifth artist. Why am I blanking? I
Would
feel like
you talked about Brandy before? Would she go with you?
yeah, she would go with me.
That's nice.
Yeah. I
Okay.
was trying to have a variety because I would like pick everybody's brains differently.
I'd love to see that flight crew. That'd be awesome. Um, uh, who's the coolest person in your phone that you can call or text that like people would know?
Kiss Daniel.
Nice. Okay, cool. And finally, what advice would you like to give to up and coming artists who, you know, are like when you first started, what would you have wanted to know from somebody that might have been a couple of years ahead of you?
I think the main thing I wish I would have known is to don't follow trends, just be yourself. And I know that's like, it sounds so cliche and so corny, but everybody is doing the same thing all the time. And the only way that you're going to stand out is if you are yourself because you are unique. And also being consistent with whatever it is that you love to do, just be consistent with it. And things take time and they take hard work. So as long as you put in that work, something is going to happen and you will be successful.
Chrissy, thank you so much for doing this. And just please tell everybody when your EP is coming out.
So the EP is dropping August 22nd.
Amazing. Thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. It was nice talking to you.
That is Chrissy Pratt. Don't forget to check out her EP, which is again coming out in August, August 22nd. Also, her single is out now, Into Deep. And again, follow her on all of her social media platforms and make sure you check out her videos on her YouTube channel at Chrissy Spratt Music.
Hey, it's Kelly Alexander, and thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Kelly Alexander Show, so you are the first in line for all the cool content coming your way.